G'day mates, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I want to talk to you about who I think is the most underrated player in 2020. Someone who popped off, placed in every single competitive game mode, absolutely dominated the scene, and while yeah, people are talking about him, nowhere near as much as what they should be. But not just that, because I know a bunch of you guys who watch my channel are up and coming pros, or you're just Fortnite players who want to improve. I took the chance and I took the opportunity to get him on for an interview at the end of today's video, and I asked him questions that I guarantee are massively going to help you improve as a player. You've heard it from different people. How do you go from being a really good player in 2019 to one of the best in the world in 2020? Well, I got it from him firsthand, things that you can do that are going to improve you as a player. So I want to talk of highlighting why he is so good, why everyone should be focusing on him, and then get some of his advice for how you can do the same thing. Remember guys, if you liked today's video, please chuck a like on it. Let me know in the comment section down below who you think is the most underrated player in 2020, someone who popped off and just not enough people are talking about him. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. It would mean the world to me. We are pushing for some big goals in 2021. I want to hit 500k subs by the end of this year, and I'm going to grind my ass off to do it. All right, no more dragging out. Who is this pro? Who is it that I think is the most underrated player in 2020? Someone who had the biggest improvement from 2019 going into 2020. It is, of course, G2's most recent signing, Jahq. And I know what you're already thinking. Aussie, he just got signed at G2. He's not underrated. Oh, I know who that is. I get that. I know people know who he is. But there is no way you can convince me he has as much reputation as what he should for how insane of a 2020 he had. Would you believe me if I told you that he was the most improved player in 2020? Well, he was. I'm not just making that up out of nowhere. I'm not just basing that on my own opinion. You guys know me. I like to base these kind of videos in facts. If you look at power rankings, which if you guys don't know, power rankings is basically a number that's assigned to you based on a tournament you play in and how well you perform. So it's how people can gauge their improvement, even if it's not just earnings. Because as you guys know, some tournaments, you can come 21st and top 20 got money. You make no money, but you still performed really well. You deserve to get some credit for how well you played in that tournament. That's what power rankings is. And Jahq is actually the most improved player when you look at the power rankings from 2019 into 2020. I want to show you this graph and show you how insane his year was. So this graph was made by FN Comp Data. Make sure you check them out. I'll put their link in the description down below because this graph is beautiful. It's so good at describing just how insane his year was. So if you look on the left there, you have G2 Jahq, and if you haven't noticed, next to him, number 2 is Acorn, which was his duo and trio mate, just showing how insane these two had of a year together as well, not just separately. But I'm going to focus on Jahq here today as much as Acorn also deserves it, because Jahq had just that little bit better of a year. If you look here, the blue bar is the 2019 power ranking he had. He had 14,850, which is not bad. That's better than most people by a lot, but it's still not insane. You look at the year he had this year, his 2020, 74,550. That makes a difference of 59,700. He exploded. He went from being good. At the end of 2019, he got a top 5 in a solo cash cup, so he wasn't a nobody, but his 2020 was massive, and that's what I want to break down. And the thing that I find so impressive about Jahq that I think people should be focusing on more, it's not just how well he did in one game mode, he did it in all game modes. He performed and placed in every single FNCS for solos, duos, and trios. Let's look at some of his placements. If you go to Jahq's profile on Fortnite Tracker, that's where I saw all these placements. If you want to look up your favorite pros, again, link in the description down below. You guys can do all this yourself as well. But let's talk about how at the end of 2019, again, he was placing as a solo player. And in the interview I'm doing a little bit later, trust me, you're going to want to watch this because it will help you improve massively. He talked about how he was more of a W key, a solo player. But in 2020, it's where he started to really come into his own as a team game mode player. And this is obviously where he found Acorn, which like you just saw on that PR status kind of increase, Acorn was up there too. It was number 1 and 2. They both had an insane year together. But if we look at duos FNCS, things kicked off. He came 3rd in the week 2 finals, 9th in the week 3 finals, then came 2nd in week 4 finals, overall coming top 10 in the grand finals to get 4,350. Now, that's pretty strong. Top 10. Nothing super insane, but from a player that's mostly only been playing solos and performing in solos, top 10 in the grand finals is massive. He came back into solos coming 2nd in the Contender and Platform Cash Cup a few weeks later when the Cash Cups kicked off. So again, clearly still an insane solo player. And that's when solos kicked off. This is where we had our double solo FNCS. And this is where I really thought Jahq would start making a name for himself. This is where I really started to notice him. I saw him in duos, but it was solo FNCS invitationals where he absolutely popped off and came third, getting $40,000. Unfortunately, the next season solo FNCS didn't have the same performance I and a lot of people were hoping for. He came 29th and only netted himself $1,200 in the solo FNCS grand finals. But this is where things changed. This is where Jahq proved himself as a player, jumped up into trios, showed that again, he's not just a solo player, that he can do it in a team game mode. And this is where most of you guys would have started to hear about Jahq, because Jahq, Acorn, and Slacks dominated trios. Week 1, they came third on the accumulative leaderboard, got $1,000. Week 2 was a bit sketchy. They didn't do as well. Week 3, they came second in the final round, getting $1,500. Then we jumped into the heats. They absolutely dominated their heats, coming first and second, to then finish the grand finals coming 5th overall with $9,000. And that was the FNCS's done for. This guy, other than the solo FNCS, managed to come 5th, 10th, and 3rd in the FNCS's. That is massive consistency in NA East, one of the hardest, if not the hardest regions to place in. Then DreamHack came around, man still had it under his belt, came second and netted $4,500. So with all those placements, you can see why in 2020 he had such a ridiculous year placement wise. And I want to show you some gameplay, because let's talk about, again, when you look at these kind of players, yeah, they place, and yeah, there's creative warriors. Jahq can do both. This man could pull off the most nuts highlights and then turn around and place in tournaments. Let's look at some of his highlights. Now, fortunately, I can't play the audio because, I mean, already so many of my videos get demonetized, like my Tars Tuesday, which I am bringing back next week. Trust me, keep an eye out for that one. I'm bringing it back. But I just want to show you how insane this guy's mechs are, because that's what people talk about, right? This guy's got mechs like a creative warrior, but also places, which is the most impressive part. That's on Acorn, another top tier pro. He is basically clipping other pros who aren't just clipbotting. So this guy has insane mechanics like a creative warrior, who then also picked up the game knowledge and skill to place. Like, look at these plays. This man is insane. And when I talk about underrated, these kind of videos, which is just god clip after god clip from a guy who you know is doing this against real people, gets 9,000 views and has 6.24k subs. Please, for the love of God, go subscribe to Jahq's YouTube. I'm going to put a link in the description down below. This guy deserves such a bigger following. He started streaming now as well. I'm guessing with his signing to G2, or he just wanted to start making more content. Mad chill streamer. And this is the kind of stuff you're in for. These are the kind of clips I expect to watch from like a creative warrior, not someone who then turns around and knows how to place endgame. And that's what I want to look at now. This is great. These are clips, but there's a lot of people out there who can do this, but who can transition it into a tournament. Getting pop-off clips for montages is one thing. I just want to show how good these guys are at finishing their games as a trio. They stay so close together. They have so much confidence in each other because they've been playing together for all of last trio FNCS, and coming into a 2021 where it's going to be 3 or more trio FNCSs back to back, it's going to be insane. Look at how they play these end games. It's so exciting. They dominate everyone because they play so close together with so much chemistry and confidence. All right, you've heard me talk about why this guy's so good, why you should listen to his opinion, and why you should listen to his advice. So let's get the words from himself. Jahq jumped on a call with me, which I could not thank him enough for, to give me some insight on what made him go from being an absolute beast in 2019 to turning into a god in 2020. He was a good player, but what made him phenomenal? Let's get it from himself.
I was kind of a creative warrior, so my mechanics were good.
All right.
So I knew but my aim wasn't the best, so I really practiced my aim. Like, I started co-vaxing a lot and just like aim training and creative.
Okay.
And then I got like pretty good at fighting. And then once I found like a teammate.
And then, so you said obviously you were a creative warrior. Did you do much VOD reviewing, or did you get most of your experience when it came to playing tournaments by just playing them and just trying to learn from it?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I just started VOD reviewing, like duos. I never really VOD reviewed before that because I kind of W keyed a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, you guys still W key a bit now, but it's like smart W keying at least.
Yeah, it's not as brain dead.
Okay, all right. So solos, you didn't VOD review much. It was mostly duos.
Yeah, well, in like solo FNCS and Invitational I did, but not in not ever for solo Cash Cups or anything like that.
Okay, and then when you say VOD review, did you watch a lot of your own gameplay, or did you watch more other pros and learn from their gameplay, or a bit of both?
A bit of both, I'd say.
I think the most important thing to focus on there is the fact that Jahq didn't just double down on his strengths. He wasn't good at editing and building and creative, so he just kept doing that. He realized that his aim wasn't the best, so he started Kovaxing, which is just not as fun, but he needed to do that to perform. And then we also see there a massive shout out to Baller TW's VOD reviews, who have just made so many pros. Talks about going back and hitting the VOD reviews, because obviously, again, his mechs were good and creative, but his game knowledge wasn't the best. This isn't groundbreaking stuff, but so many pros don't do it. You got to work on your weaknesses. You got to work on the boring stuff to then make sure you pop off. But then let's hear about Jahq's opinion on what 2020 is going to look like. I mean, 2021, sorry, because that's the most important part. We have an entire year of trios, and Jahq is one of those few pros that doesn't just jump and swap around with teams. He sticks with those who he knows he can make work in the long run.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I've never really done it in like throughout all of squads, all of duos, all of trios. Like, I never swapped teammates. I always just stuck with the same person.
That's not.
So I feel like it. Yeah, I feel like it helps out like super, like a lot.
Okay.
People don't realize it, cause like they'll just play like a week with someone, get mad, and then they'll just drop them.
Yeah.
Instead of like actually like improving and learning what they can do better.
Yeah, and then they always get stuck towards the end of it. Like, it's right before tournament start and everyone gets taken because they've actually like stuck together.
Yeah.
And that is some of the best advice you can get coming into 2021. If you're trying to have a pop-off year in competitive like Jahq did last year, you need to find a good team, you need to stick with them, and you need to grind with them. Don't just try to go with your friend that might have the best mechs but you don't get along well with, or try to go with your friend who has more earnings but you just don't click well as a team. Find someone you click with and improve together. We have an entire year of one FNCS game mode. This is your chance to find a team you work well with and invest in the whole year, not just the first tournament. All right, guys, that does it for another video. Like I said, please go check out all of Jahq's socials. He streams a lot on Twitch whenever there's tournaments or scrims. He also posts on YouTube, so please check both of those out. He deserves all the love. This guy is going to have an insanely dominant 2021. I don't know if he'll be the most improved, because it's going to be pretty hard to top that one. And again, I know what you guys are going to say. Oh, I know about Jahq. He's not underrated. But in my opinion, this guy should have such a bigger following. It is insane. He has like 7K subs on YouTube. He has like 14K followers on Twitter. This guy is popping off and people need to start focusing on him. If you liked today's video, please chuck a like on it. Let me know in the comment section down below. Again, anyone else you want me to interview or try to get advice from. I'm trying to get more pros on here. I should have one coming up with Stretch pretty soon, which would be super exciting. Hopefully I can lock that one in. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. It would mean the world to me. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.